Next up is David Anderson. All set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Anderson. Welcome. As I said to Mr. Gowis before you, we each have a question to ask. It'll be the same questions that were asked to Mr. Gowis before you and the three after you. So with that said, I will go ahead and get started.
Sounds great, and thank you.
One thing also, there are no time limits specifically for your answers, but please be mindful of the fact that we have to interview several of you, and brevity is a good word.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, first question, and it's a compound question, so there's a couple parts to it. The city of Troy has gone through quite a bit over the past few years. Knowing that, why do you want to be appointed to Troy City Council? What do you believe are the main issues facing our residents and businesses? And what do you think you can do as an individual council member to solve or move in the direction of solving those issues?
The reason I'd like to be a member of the City Council is twofold. One, I'm a firm believer in the concept of public service. The late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that public service is the rent we pay for the space we occupy. And I truly believe that sentiment, and I try to live by that in terms of my everyday existence. A second thing that I find important is that I've lived in Troy for 40 years, and that sort of differentiates me from the other candidates that are applying for this position. All the other candidates have basically been living in Troy for less than 20 years, and so I have a historical perspective that the other candidates do not have, and I think that's very important. We learn by history, and I don't want to see us make mistakes like we have had in the past in Troy. Not very many, but an occasional mistake here and there, and it's something that's important for us to want to avoid. As far as the direction of the city of Troy, there are a number of things that I think are important. First of all, I think long-term planning is important, and I think the concept of the strategy approach that we have in Troy is an excellent approach. The 2019-20 strategy approach that the council is working on now is great, and we need to continue that process. When I was the Oakland County Bar Association president, I implemented a 3-year long-term strategy approach, and it's worked very well for our Bar Association, and I know it's going to continue to work well for our city. I believe that our city is going in the right direction. I think we can always improve relative to things that need to be done, and that's why we have the city council and all the support staff that comes with it that makes our city so great. I've actually lived in Troy, like I say, for 40 years, and my law practice has been in Troy for 43 years. And the reason that I've done that is because we have such a dynamic, diverse, and wonderful city. And I would like to be on the city council to continue that trend in the future.
Thank you. Councilmember Abraham.
Here. Mr. Anderson, trust between city council and residents is essential to good government. That trust has taken a hit as a result of council's handling of the former city manager before and after his criminal actions were known. What measures do you think city council should take to grow trust with residents?
I think the most important thing that we need to do relative to growing trust with our residents is to have transparency in the process and to make certain that the people of our great city know how we are doing things, why we are doing things. I think that is incredibly important relative to the whole process. We also need to make sure that as a city council that we are following checks and balances in terms of our procedures as far as running city government, and I think that we've got those things in alignment at this point in time. So we need to make sure that we have our citizenry educated and understanding exactly what we're doing as city government. We need to follow the principles of home rule that is part and parcel of what we do day in and day out. And I think if we make sure that we communicate those concepts through all the different mediums that we have available to us, that I think we're going to go in a positive direction and hopefully not visit that same road that we did a couple of years ago. There's a lot of bumps in it, and we don't want to make those again.
Councilmember Brooks.
Please outline a few ways in which Troy City Council can improve community outreach.
There's a number of areas as far as community outreach that we need to do, and we have to look at the different segments of our community and how they have certain needs. For instance, we have a younger group of people. I would characterize those people as being people in middle school, high school, college, and the millennial age. And we need to make sure that we have opportunities for those people as far as employment is concerned. We need to have opportunities relative to our zoning to make sure that there's affordable housing for those types of people. And we need to make certain that we have all sorts of activities that make those people want to come to our city and view us as first and foremost as the place they want to live. We do a pretty good job as far as our middle-aged people are concerned, and I think they're quite comfortable, but I still think that we need to constantly improve upon the services that we have, our aquatic center, our community center, our school system, our trail programs, our park and rec programs. All of these things are top drawer, and we need to continue to improve upon those to make sure that our middle-life residents feel equally empowered and included in our community. And lastly, we need to make sure that we are addressing the needs of our city senior citizens. I happen to be a baby boomer, and so I sort of fall in that particular group. And we need to make sure that we have affordable housing for our seniors and that we make our community desirable for our seniors to want to stay in. I know that you folks read the same literature that I do, and Troy has been rated in several publications as being a place where people want to retire. And the reason they want to retire here is because our community makes them feel wanted and involved. And so we need to make sure that we push those issues relative to our senior citizens and make them want to stay here and finish out their lives and their golden years in this neck of the woods.
Thank you. Councilmember Erickson Gall.
Council has a jam-packed schedule over the coming months. In addition to the regular and special meetings scheduled and the advanced preparation necessary for those meetings, whoever steps into this position will have catch-up work to be ready for important decisions such as our budget. And on top of that, you'll have to run and retain the seat in August. Have you thought about the time commitment and work involved, and what are you doing to prepare for that challenge?
I have. Historically, I've served on the Adrian College Board of Trustees, which was an extremely demanding position, and I've also been past president of the Oakland County Bar Association, the largest voluntary bar association in the state of Michigan with over 3,000 members. I had to allocate my time appropriately between that and my job, and I thought I did so quite effectively. I've given the time commitments associated with running for this position a great deal of thought. I have the time to serve in this position, to meet our meetings, to participate in the study sessions, and to make sure that I'm an active and contributing member relative to this process. I would be running for the position in August, assuming that you folks were kind enough to appoint me to this particular position. And again, I can't emphasize enough, Troy has been wonderful for me and my family. We have 3 generations of Andersons living in Troy, and I want to make sure that this wonderful city that we live in is a place where my grandsons want to also make their home when they get older.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. What unique perspective and experience would you bring to City Council?
The experience that I bring to City Council that some of my worthy candidates won't have is the fact that I have some legal background, which will help me understand the process a little bit quicker and better than some of the other people that may be applying. And I don't say that in any way to denigrate the other candidates that are running. They're wonderful people. They're my neighbors, and I love being their neighbors in Troy. But my legal background will hold me in good stead relative to getting up to speed quickly here. And then also, I have a business experience that will also be part and parcel, which will help to make the experience just that much better as far as that goes. And then as far as my overall involvement, I've been on the Elections Commission for over 35 years. Whenever the city of Troy has asked me to volunteer in any capacity, whether it was to be on the beautification committee or to do anything else that I could do to make my city better, I've always done it. I've been actively involved in the homeowners associations at both Stone Ridge and at Beach Forest. And just about anything that my city has asked me to do, I'm more than willing to step forward and do. Plus, you combine that with the experience that I just described, and I think I make a very good fit relative to this open position.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Hi,
Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm hanging in there.
That makes 2 of us.
What policy or strategy will be your main priority during your appointment to council?
There are a number of things that I think that are important for this particular council to do. I alluded to it earlier that we want to make sure that we have a long-term strategy, and that's why I like the 2019-2020 strategy approach that we're doing. I also want to make sure that our city council follows our master plan, just like we did a couple of weeks ago with the Park and Rec program. I grew up in Southfield and Lathrop Village area back in the 60s, and we did not have a master plan. And I am so delighted that the city of Troy, for my 40 years, has a master plan and learned from it, and we stuck to it. And our development, both commercial and residential, has been rational, progressive, and has been a very, very good way of doing business. We've also been rated, as you folks know, as one of the safest cities in both the state of Michigan and in the entire Midwest region. It is imperative that we make sure that we work hand in glove with our police department to continue our public safety efforts, and our fire department is absolutely fantastic as far as that goes, and we need to make sure that we support those good folks. The other thing that I think we need to also make sure is that we work together with county government, state government, and the federal government. If you'll notice, we have a new county executive. We need to make sure that Mr. Coulter is connected with Troy. He was just at our public library tonight, in case you didn't know it, doing one of those meet the county executive approaches. We want to make sure our new elected officials are working with us, and we want to make sure that after this election in the fall that we connect with all the appropriate federal people. So that's another thing that I think is important. And last but not least, I think it's important that any person that serves as a council member here have at least 3 or 4 of these attributes. They need to be civil, they need to be transparent, they need to be ethical, and they need to be hardworking. And that's what this city council panel in front of me exemplifies tonight. And I want to be part of that group and make Troy just that much better of a place to live and work.
Thank you. That's all of our questions this evening.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me this evening.
Thank you.